2021 has just begun and everything is happening at once as per usual, but no, we are not going back there. 2020 stays behind. And welcome to the monthly news updates. So we do these every month, as it probably states, where I just give you some news or some current industry updates regarding video on social media, on online in general, in the real world, or any news updates that may be useful to you and building your personal brand with video, which is what we do. And I realized I didn't introduce myself. I am Zoe Wood, the video confidence coach, helping you build your personal brand with video. Boo-de-boo! So, if that gobbledygook entrance hasn't put you off, then why not we go to Zoe in the newsroom? Check out these new titles. Oh my god. Thank you, Zoe, and welcome to the newsroom, or the tutorial shot, as I like to call it. So let's go through a couple of things that I've found over the past month that might be interesting to you and might be helpful to you as 2021 gets started and how we progress. So one thing I do want to recommend for you guys, though, is if you are interested in the digital space, and if you're doing video, especially online, I highly recommend that you check out the Indie Letters marketing newsletter. Now, I'm not being sponsored, #notspon, I'm not being sponsored for this at all. I just find it's one of the very few marketing emails that I actually read on a regular basis, and I get a lot of insight and a lot of useful tips and details that then I use with my clients to work on strategy. So one thing that I will probably stress, and something that you may already know, is that doubling down on video content this year is going to be more useful to your brand in the long haul than ever, as you can probably guess, because a lot of people are still stuck at home. We are still in a pandemic, and that'll be the same thing. That'll be what will be happening for the rest of this year. And probably continuing on further, which is a nice thing to think about. Let's not think about that. And with the way that SEO is going, and the focus that is on content marketing, especially when it comes to educational content like how-tos, queries, and those type of content. A statistic that Indie Letters got from one of their recent emails was 72% of consumers say that they would prefer video over written text. And that goes along with the same amount of statistics and work that I've talked to you guys about in the previous times whenever I've talked to you about these type of things, just mainly because, video touches all three of those learning apparatuses, visual, audio, and kinesthetic being touch and feel, and actually doing something to learn, because it touches two of those three ways of learning. And there are other ways of learning. There are audio visual people, there are kinesthetic and audio people, there are many other things, but those three are mostly the basic types of learning. And when you want people to do something or to consistently do something, you need to educate them as to why they need to do it. So I find very much helpful using Indie Letters to just the regular news and all that good stuff, and it also relates to SEO because, even though they are an email and they don't do a whole lot of video, they're more of a congregate of news and information that's actually going to be useful to you and your strategy moving forward. I probably imagine within the next year that they're going to dabble within the podcasting and video space, possibly. We'll see. I don't know. We'll see what happens in the future. And that statistic can be found in their COVID-19 is a great marketer issue of the Indie Letters marketing newsletter. All right, next news story. So this is a story back from earlier this month where YouTube.com is going to add voice commands to search, navigate, and play. And the reason that this may affect you is because it's making YouTube and the platforms that it aligns with, again, because YouTube is owned by Google, there is going to be a lot of overlap when it comes to these features. It makes the internet more accessible for people with disability, but also just people in general who may not want to touch things. And this pandemic has definitely showed that some of the ways that we do things, that you need to constantly be touching your phone, you constantly need to be, touching things out and about to be able to get anything done. The use of voice commands to be able to navigate a digital space that's in front of you, or to use any sort of interface that you come across in, be it public or in private life, is going to definitely dictate the next decade. And utilizing voice commands, if you're able to implement that into your products, into your services, into your platforms, and like those type of things are going to be very useful for you as we progress forward. YouTube is just this very big behemoth of a company who gets a lot of eyeballs and a lot of attention as we go on. See our attention video for that one. They're a big player in the space, and once they make big shifts and big moves like this, and again, it's not saying that you're not allowed to use their program without while touching things. It's not saying that. It's not cutting that option off for people. It's just saying that this is now an option for people who want to be able to learn, who want to be able to communicate without physically having to touch buttons and screens just to get their inputs heard, or get to their inputs to come out to a command. So keep an eye on this as we go forward. And sticking with YouTube for this one, Google owns YouTube, wants to turn YouTube into a shopping site. As you can imagine, it was inevitable. All these large companies want more money as they grow. And turning YouTube, which is essentially a free site. Of course, there is YouTube Premium, which I do pay for because I am not a fan of the ads, and I consume enough YouTube and also play enough on YouTube to warrant that expense. But it's one of those things that, if necessary, I'll just drop it. Like I don't need to pay. It's not a ride or die purchase for me. But I was always. It's one of those first things to drop if necessary. But as we go forward, Google is going to slowly be injecting more shopping utilities, purchasing opportunities, as well as the ads that they currently have on the platform. They're going to continue to keep growing the platform for usability on shopping. Very much like Instagram, where when it was first bought by Facebook, there was a couple of changes here and there, and then over those past I don't know how long it is now, but over that while that since Facebook has now owned Instagram, there's been a lot of more opportunities for people to buy. There's a lot more opportunities to sell using the platform, as well as the ads that inherently come along with it. There is the opportunities to use the shopping tab, to use all these other aspects of the platform that, they're just offering it to you as free consumers to use this, and obviously use your data so then they can dictate those adverts and those buying opportunities to you. And that's the same here with Google and YouTube, because again, YouTube is owned by Google. It's one of their little babies. It's more of a big baby now, considering. And to be able to, for them to provide more sales opportunities, not just for the content creator that you are watching at the time, but for just, various companies who are in that niche or who are in that realm to be able to sell. I would recommend looking into buying opportunities for your products and services, more than just the stipulations or the current sites that you're using. Say, for example, you could be using either your website and publishing through Google and Facebook, and that works for you. Great. But I would recommend checking out these opportunities with YouTube, not just for the adverts, but for the actual selling and purchasing side of things. So when you look underneath the video, you've got opportunity to buy the merch from the creators. Well, then they'll probably also have options of related products that are related to this, video, or related to the topic that this person is talking about. Say, for example, they might be talking about microphones for your next video, and they talk about the type of videos. They have links below, they have affiliated links. But what YouTube will also be doing, probably within, I'd say, the next 6 months to 12 months, is they're going to have more recommendations under that video or under the description. They haven't really picked out where yet, where they'll have the actual, almost like listings that you have on Google, where you search for, say, a product or something, and it comes up with an actual, almost like a scatter list in front of you. And I think I might be able to show an option of that. Let's just imagine I'm typing for a microphone. I search that, and as you can see up the top here in the ad section, so again, these people have paid to be here. You have this lovely area here of options that people can buy for microphones. And that's what they're proposing to do for YouTube. They already have this option on a few limited videos, limited niches, limited sites. They just want to open it up to, more opportunities for people to buy. And again, it is quote unquote a free platform. These large companies are going to get more money as you can go. But I want to see, as a personal brand builder, are you able to utilize this to your advantage? Hopefully, and you should be. Thank you, Newsroom Zoe. And today's sponsor spot is brought to you by me. But I'm going to ask you to do something else. Let's just try not to be a news presenter for just a couple of seconds. Why not keep up to date with these news stories as they happen by following us on our stories, on our Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn stories. So whenever anything interesting crops up, pops into my interest or in this industry or niche, then I usually let people know the story and usually my thoughts about it in the stories function on the apps, just so the posts aren't cluttered. But if you follow stories, I highly recommend that you follow us on your platform of choice. And if not, well, why don't you just stick out for the rest of this video and find more stuff about the news stories. Back to the newsroom. Breaking news. Well, it's not really breaking, it's something that's been happening for a while, but I've just gone onto Google because I just wanted to show you what the shopping SERP looked like. And this is what I've got. A new law will change how search works. Here are a proposal for a workable news code and those type of things. So for anyone who is currently in Australia, you are getting a lot of this from Google, from news outlets, from sites. And as you can imagine, it's a pretty big thing. And the reason that I have not been bringing it up, or I have been bringing it up a lot in news stories that I hear and a lot of things that I hear from people. And I have been doing a lot of research and in-depth into this topic. But it's one of those situations where you've got two big behemoths, Google and their affiliates, and the news tycoons and their affiliates, and they're like fighting in front of you. And when you're down here, and especially when you're a small business, because yes, these changes or whatever they're going to do to the major landscape for more money is going to affect people, is going to affect how you receive news in one way or another. That's a fact. It's just more than a little bit confusing to try and get a straight answer to this. I've, gone outside of both Google and the news channels to try and find information about this. And it's not exactly straightforward. It's not exactly understandable or digestible for anyone outside of those particular realms. So if I find more information, please check out the description below and I'll be able to point you in the right direction of ways to get more information about this. And it may be interesting because, if this goes south, it may actually affect, what I do and my livelihood, which hell, it already does. And that's the thing that always confuses me about this, because Google is saying one thing, like, the government wants to do this and blah, blah, blah from their point of view. And the news outlets are like, well, we've been paying you advertising money, and you've been, using this without people paying for it or what have you. Again, their type of arguments. And someone who is a small business, who uses both avenues and both platforms, fairly consistently, I'm just wanting, it's just kind of like, just get over it, get it done. Whatever change happens, because you're not going to listen to the small guy, no matter what, you're not going to listen to the small guy. So whatever change that you do make it happen and we'll figure it out. I don't like it, but I also understand that, governments, as they are 15 years behind as always, are starting to make changes, are starting to make impactful laws and adaptations to the internet. Like I said, 15 years too late, but here we are. So I guess it's good that they're actually making some sort of changes, but it is a little bit annoying that A, it's taken this long, and B, there's no clear clarification of, okay, what exactly are you proposing? Well, we don't want to, lose those eyeballs that people are actually getting news, because, fake news will just thrive more than it already is. And then you've also got the other side of people just wanting the whole point of Google is to have quick and accessible information right in front of you. So again, I want to stress that I am not on either side of these giants. I pay money to both. Like, I'm not really a fan of either. They're just there and you have to do it. I just want them to make a decision and just do something, because you are not fun. Because whatever they do is going to impact us either way. I just want to know what it is so I can do something about it. Next story is regarding Instagram. And the reason this is on Twitter, because these are known as leaks. And, one of these situations is a lot of these larger companies, and social media platforms are always testing. They're always trying things out. And that's the thing I want to stress to you. Whenever you see news stories or anything regarding leaks, or like, say, for example, like this on, Twitter, there is, someone has leaked this type of information. I want to stress to you that this isn't set in stone, because nothing, especially when it comes to social media and the digital space, is ever set in stone. But always keep your eye out for stories like this when new information is leaked ahead of time, and if it affects you and your branding and business and how you use your strategy, just keep that in mind, because you always need to be flexible. And say, for example, what they say is to hide the like count on a post. And I believe that has already started being implemented onto at least you can do that with comments on Instagram posts. You can already, disable comments. You can already disable like other things. So I wouldn't be surprised if they disable like counts on posts, because they've already moved towards not having numbers on posts, at least in the Australia, Brazil and Germany and those type of places. And I imagine that's also in the UK and America as we progress forward, because these social media platforms are, losing sway. So people are, getting overwhelmed with the numbers of the likes and the followers and stuff. So especially on Facebook, there's been a major change and update. And I believe that's one of the stories that I have along here somewhere, is that change from numbers to just standing, from numbers to just reputation. And you get to see what other people that you are friends with and if they like it as well. And that's their focus, moving away from numbers. And of course you can still get numbers on the back end and all that good stuff, as all these. And same thing with YouTube channels. You can have, people can see, 300k subscribers. They don't get the particular numbers, because as they used to do, like 324, 001, like those type of things, where they used to have a lot of numbers detailed and people would be able to clearly see how many numbers. And as we've progressed further, where people wanting to just see the information as they go along, they can also start shortening those numbers, giving it in groups, grouping the numbers down, but also not, supposedly it's perpetuating that worrisome and the culture of, I need more numbers, I need more likes, and that type of content, which is true. I don't want to say that it is, because there's always been a culture of that, especially when I've been growing up. There's been a culture of, oh, I got more likes than you, therefore I'm better than you. I'm glad that it has changed, and I'm glad that it has updated. But that's what you need to keep in mind when it comes to your metrics and your insights as you create content, as you educate your customers, as you put yourself out there. Measuring yourself against others can become a little harder. There are plenty of tools to bypass this, turning off and view counts. But on the outset, you need to work on other ways to compare yourself against your competitors, if that's what you're willing to do, and if that you're a stage where you want to compare yourself to your competitors. Next story. And here's a story from a company that I really enjoy. Social Media Today is, I believe, an Australian company. If not, their founders Australian. And I just find it very useful to find these little details that may not seem very big in the long run. So Instagram testing new stories layout on desktop may seem like, why should I care about this, Zoe? But keeping in mind that people still use desktop to access things. People still use desktop to look at things. Just because we are going on a vertical mobile plain doesn't mean that all other avenues are forthwith. They're foregone. So with Instagram testing out the way that stories change and look on desktop, you may be able to see, and you'll be able to see that in your metrics as well, where people come from to see your stories, where people come from to see your posts and your videos. Well, then how can you utilize the features that they have available to you to be able to adapt and change things, to test out strategy and to get more insight and more followers and hopefully more leads down the line? Isn't it all a lovely funnel? All right, next story. And referring back to the story that I mentioned before about Facebook redesigning their pages with a more simplified layout and no like button. So this still hasn't fully kicked in as of yet, the 28th of January 2021, but that will be happening over time, where it's more of a follow button as opposed to a like button, and moving on through that. But includes this new layout is taking away numbers and taking away information like that, to, as I mentioned in the previous story, previous story, is to thin things down and to make it a lot more, all about the content and about what people like and their friends, as opposed to the numbers and the analytics and the metrics of it all, which again, isn't a bad thing, isn't a good thing. Again, you know your own metrics, you know your own measurements, you focus on that. But again, this is what they currently look like. And as you go on, you'll be able to see more information. So essentially, Facebook's just going with the times as per usual, a little bit slower than everything else, but they're trying. And also they're trying to appease the governments of the world. But yet here we are. And last news story for the day, a little bit of a fun one. You maybe have seen some on TikTok. There has been a latest viral trend of sea shanties. So people stitching is where you have more than one video together on the screen, or it's where you have multiple videos either stitched together, like one after the other in one video, or videos side by side together. People have been enjoying singing old sea shanties as a way of camaraderie. But also it's just a nice fun trend that people have been doing, and it's been nice to see updates and information from people who are just coming across these trends, because again, there are different trends that appear on TikTok, because that is where the youth of today are, and that's where they focus their energies. Therefore trends appear a lot more and a lot more consistency. They appear on TikTok more than any other platform. Personally, my audience isn't on TikTok, which is why, not that I've stayed away from it, I do enjoy in my personal time watching TikToks and enjoying it, but in a business sense, I'm not really interested on joining on TikTok just yet, mainly just because I've got enough on my plate as it is. And TikTok, even though it is one of those great opportunities, it's something that I don't foresee in my strategy just yet, because I don't need to jump on every single trend. Neither do you. You don't have to jump on every single thing that happens every single time, because you will just exhaust yourself and burn yourself out way too quickly. So if you just, say for example, if you are on TikTok and you are getting a lot of follower and reach and you actually enjoy working on TikTok, then you can do that. I just personally enjoy it for my personal time and enjoy, consuming that type of content in small little bites that I can use to, give me a laugh and make me feel happy for a little bit. But that doesn't automatically mean that it's going to work inside your strategy. But back to the story at hand. The use of sea shanties is just another way of, bringing people on board, making it a little cozy, and giving people the opportunity to, sing some sea shanties with strangers and have some camaraderie with that. And that was from Variety magazine. Back to Zoe in the newsroom. Thank you for that report, Zoe. And now for TLDW, too long didn't watch. 72% of customers say that they would prefer a video over written text, studies say. You can use voice commands to navigate and play through YouTube videos, and this will be a common occurrence through almost every platform as we go on, because people don't want to touch things, but also it helps people with disabilities. And the face of almost all social media platforms are going to be moving away from being number focused to content and simplify the experiences for all users. So keep that in mind as you build your personal brand. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. What's next for you is to check out our 2021 predictions videos. We're about a month in, see how we're going with everything. Feel free to comment if any of them are wildly wrong and inaccurate. Feel free to comment and just let me know. I probably will already know, but it'll be nice that we know together. We see each other. And I want to thank you for sticking out for this news report. We will do this on, I'm aiming for the last video of the month every month, where I give you news stories about what's happened in our industry. So I hope you've enjoyed it, and I will see you on the next video. Bye!